Good morning again, boys and girls. Once again, I hope all is well and everyone is truly safe during this pandemic time. So, this week, boys and girls, we are starting Unit 4.8, and that unit deals with, as you see, polygons, right? So, what's our objective? Our objective says, by the end of the lesson, I can reason about the line segments and angles to classify quadrilaterals. Once again, our objective for Unit 4.8 today in polygons, the objective is, by the end of the lesson, I can reason about line segments and angles to classify quadrilaterals. Now, and once again, when we start our lesson for today, we always talk about what standard are we dealing with. Can everyone see that, boys and girls, the standard right here? Okay. Great. So, Unit 4.8 polygons, our standard is 4.G.2 or 4.G.2, classify two-dimensional figures based on the presence or absence of parallel lines or perpendicular lines, or the presence or absence of angles of a specified size. Recognize right triangles as a category and identify right triangles. Now, once again, boys and girls, as usual, we put us, although we're in a math class and we put ourselves in a literacy focused class, just like we're in Mr. Bachelor's room. So what do? Once we look at our standard? Anyone know? Let me hear it. Very good. So we had to do some annotating, right? Okay, so somebody came in here, I don't know who did it in our class, but somebody circled parallel lines as of importance. Somebody circled perpendicular lines, and then somebody circled angles, and they underlined, of a specified size. Okay? And of course, we know why we annotated these parts of the standard, because this is what's going to hopefully drive our instruction today. So just as a quick review, we know that parallel lines, boys and girls, are lines going from side to side, and those lines will never, ever, ever touch. Okay? Perpendicular lines, and you remember last week, boys and girls, when I did my lesson and we was on the ping pong table, and we talked about the alphabets, perpendicular lines either look like the lowercase t or the capital L, in whichever direction you want to go. The lines cross at a point. And we're going to talk about that specific point from last week, talking about the vertex. Now, so what else is important that we have to know to drive this instruction? We're talking about angles, and then what about the angles? Angles of a specified size. So last week we talked about our benchmark angle, the right angle. It looks like your capital L, whichever way you want to look at it. And it also looks like your lowercase t, which is a 90-degree angle. Then we talked about what? An acute angle. So we're talking about sizes. An acute angle, remember when we did this from last week, boys and girls, they start going smaller, then they're no longer that capital L. Right, remember that? Okay. Then we had obtuse angles. What about the obtuse angle size? Okay? So when we have the capital L, we have our benchmark 90-degree angle, and it's all that area just outside of 90 degrees. What do we say? That starts from 91 degrees all the way down to 179 degrees. Now, before we go on with this lesson, and we're talking about angles and their specific sizes, talking about right angles, acute angles, and obtuse angles, I want to give a quick shout out to the following students out there in virtual land. We'll give a shout out to Shayla, Janaya, Julian, Makai, Jacob, and Devin. Now, there were others, boys and girls, but the reason why I'm giving these students a shout out is because they really liked and appreciated when we integrated PE for our math lesson, and we did our right angle, acute, obtuse, and exercise song in math. They were saying it really tired them out and their arms were shaking, and they almost thought that they were in Coach Smith PE class. So that was just one way, boys and girls. And I'm glad not only those 6 students, but many of you all appreciate that. And so I just want to thank you all for joining in and integrating with our virtual lesson dealing with math and integrating PE. So once again, our objective by the end of the lesson, I can reason about the line segments and angles to classify quadrilaterals. Okay, now this, once again in the lesson, boys and girls, since we're in virtual distance learning, we're going to do our solve and share. And this is where you, once again, you pause the lesson and then you try to solve. And then later on in the lesson, we'll come back and solve it all together. So what you all will have to copy is the following. Draw 3 different four-sided shapes that have opposite sides that are parallel. Solve any way you can. So once again, so to solve and share, draw 3 different four-sided shapes that have opposite sides that are parallel. Solve any way you can. And this is where we're going to pause it for a minute. And remember, boys and girls, just like in the classroom, what's our motto? There's more than one way to skin a cat. And so we'll come back with part B in a second while you all try to figure that out.